All right, well, we get started. First thing on the agenda is the minutes of the May 22nd meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let's jump around the schedule a little bit and jump ahead to item number 15, local law D. Chairman Ward is here and has at least two other engagements tonight, so we're going to get you in there as quickly as possible.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So item number 15, local law D. You want to give us a quick summary?
I'll give the summary.
Maybe Mr. Jeffers may give you a legal summary. I can give you a summary, but it won't be as legal as Mr. Jeffers.
Basically, well, I can give a real simple version. It's the cleanup of a couple of provisions in the charter that were inconsistent. Basically, that's all it is. And we changed the title of the sewer district to the water purification district. That's one of the elements. Another element is, I'm losing my train of thought here. Another element has to do with the planning department. It was in two different divisions. It was in public works and in environmental conservation. It's deleted now from the public works department. It's in the environmental conservation. And another one had to do with a time limit that the county executive had. It was the same procedure, but they had two different time limits in two different places. Now they're both the same. And that's all this encompasses. It's basically a cleanup.
All right, any questions on this? Mr. Chairman, I assume you want to move this out?
Yes, please.
All right, is there a motion to move local law D?
I'll move it.
Mr. Feeney, Mr. Besson, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Let's keep jumping ahead and go to current business numbers 18 and 19. Is Director Ziegler here? Item number 18, authorizing an agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services regarding rape crisis services and amending the 2017 budget.
Thank you so much for your time. Good evening. Last month I was here and was requesting to apply for the grant. We've been awarded the grant. This is just to allow us to continue doing our services, primarily going to staff, salary, fringe, and a little bit for the on-call.
Excellent. Any questions? Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Ms. Lockhart and Mr. Besson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, and item number 19, authorizing submission of a grant application and agreement with the New York State Coalition Against Sexual Assault regarding a sexual assault service program.
This is a renewal. This is federal money that allows us to better serve those immigrants and refugees in our community. There is an outstanding amount of sexual violence that occurs during a person's movement from their original country to the United States. There's often a lot of rape and sexual assault. There's domestic violence. So this just allows us to serve folks who are in our country legally with documentation, but who have been the victims of sexual violence in their own country.
Okay, excellent. Sounds like a fantastic program. Any questions? All right, do we have a motion?
Make a
Mr.
motion.
Besson, and a second. Mr. Feeney, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, back to the regularly scheduled agenda. On previous business, item number 1, resolution 84A, that's Mr. Mendix.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution really is a clarification of a resolution that was passed in the last session that has to do with challenges to decisions of the chairman of the legislature. What this is, there is actually two rules. There's a rule that gives the authority to the chairman to allow him to send a resolution or a law to committee or not. And then there is another resolution, another rule, Rule 27, which talks about the ability for any legislator to challenge any decision of the chair. They seem to be somewhat in conflict, and this is intended to resolve that conflict. And basically the crux of it is that any decision of the chair can be overruled by a decision, by a vote, which would be required to be a roll call vote, and only a simple majority of the members present need to authorize that decision to overrule.
So a simple majority of the body could overrule
Right.
by the chair.
Now, the reason why I went to a simple majority is that tends to be what the norm is, and it was, I was a little bit surprised to see back on April 4th of this year, the United States Senate, when you were looking at the Gorsuch affirmation for his role in the Supreme Court, they had to go through the whole process, and one of the issues that they did, or one of the procedures they did, it said McConnell would then appeal the ruling of the chair and ask for senators to vote to overrule it. The Senate would vote on whether to overrule the chair. Once again, Republicans would need only a simple majority to win this vote if the ruling is overturned. So clearly we have evidence that the most important body in the United States, the United States Senate, only requires a simple majority. I don't think the Albany County Legislature needs to require any more than that.
Hold on, the Gorsuch thing was a vote to overcome the filibuster. That wasn't,
Well,
that wasn't a majority vote to overcome the leadership.
No, this was a vote on the decision of the chair.
No, that was a vote to uphold or break the
Got it right here.
filibuster.
It may be.
Yeah.
The point being, let's not lose sight of the fact that the decision to overrule the chair in the United States Senate only requires a simple majority. And that's what this also includes.
I don't think I agree with that either, because that only changed, well, let me finish. No, go ahead.
I realize that you don't agree, but that's the
I haven't
rule.
told you whether I agree or disagree. What I'm telling
okay.
you is that
All
what
right.
you're talking about with the Gorsuch nomination was the overturning of decades of precedence of the filibuster rule, which was overturned in a limited manner for lower system judges before that, a couple years ago, and for this one time for the Supreme Court judge. The standing of all of the legislation, rules of the chair, and everything in the U.S. Senate is by filibuster, which is 60 or more, assuming the minority tries to exert that power. So saying that this is the same thing, I have not decided how I'm going to vote on a resolution, but I don't know that I agree on that reasoning.
Well, I obviously disagree with you. Clearly, the definition, or at least as it was reported, and I have no reason to believe that it was not reported accurately, that this was, regardless of everything else that was going on, it was a challenge to the decision of the chair, and it only required a simple majority in the United States Senate. So that's what this whole resolution is about. It requires two things. Number one, it always requires a majority vote, a simple majority to overrule. And second of all, it always requires a roll call vote. In the past, those of us who have a little bit of tenure would see where if there was a challenge to the chair, it was immediately done on a voice vote and done very, very quickly. This hopes to put some arms around that process so that it is clean, it is nonpartisan, it is transparent.
Two quick comments.
Yes, sir.
One, since Chairman Ward has been in charge, I don't think we've even taken a 38-to-1 vote that wasn't a full roll call. So, not saying that doesn't mean we shouldn't address the rules, but that has been the practice for at least the last several months. Every vote's been a long roll call, even if one person voted against it. So
Well, it requires,
I think we're already there.
It requires one person. That was a change at the end of the last session.
And just total curiosity here, does your rule account for the situation where there's several people absent and theoretically 15 or 16 members could overrule the chair?
It is.
Do you go on the numbers, majority of members present or majority of the body?
Members present.
So theoretically, 15 people could change the direction of the legislature.
Members present.
Okay. And I assume you want to move this tonight?
I would love to.
Okay. I would, Mr. Fine, do you?
Yes, Mr. Mendig, I was wondering, do you know what the rules are in the New York State Assembly or the New York State Senate? Because you mentioned rules of the U.S. Senate, so I'm curious for reference if you've looked into similar rules in the state legislature.
We have looked in them. The report that I get back is that it's a simple majority.
Okay.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen that, and I've been there 12 years. In fact, I've seen a lot of hostile motions to bring things to the floor, and it's 60%, I believe. Which is, again, I don't want to, I'll entertain a motion on this in either way, and I'm not going to say how I'm going to vote on this, and I'm not undecided.
Appreciate that.
I know discussion about this has been going on for a while. I kind of like the concept of something more of a 55 or 60 or 65%, because what I think you're getting at here is a situation where the chair is overstepping his or her ability and kind of going against the will of the body. And I think if it's a 60% margin, that tends to make more sense rather than just being a bare majority of the members present, which might not even be a majority of the body. But I don't know, I know there was discussions about a different number than a bare majority. I'm not sure where those went. I tend to think that would kind of be my preference, but.
Well, I'm not sure that I would agree that it requires 60% to be a clear indication of the majority of the body. We vote on things every month that only require a simple majority to be accomplished. This should not be any different.
Okay, well, I think, Ms. Morial.
I can make a motion to move it out to the floor.
With what kind of recommendation?
Positive recommendation.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Higgins, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Nay. What's the vote count on that? Let's do hands up for yes again. Four? Patty, were you?
I still had my hand up.
Oh, and noes? Four, all right. You are out of committee, Mr. Mendick.
Thank you very much.
Item number 2, Mr. Higgins, resolution number 127.
Meeting table 2 and made my report.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Items number 4 and 7, resolution 411, local law. Oh, Mr. Drake. I don't know if I saw Mr. Drake here. All right, so we'll table those 2. Items number 5 and 9 and 6 and 10 are mine. I will table all those. Item number 7, local law O.
8 you mean, right?
Sorry, we already did local law 7. Local law number 8, yes. Local law number P. This is, I believe we have a public hearing on this tomorrow night, so I think on behalf of the sponsors, we'll table that pending the public hearing. That's us.
That's fine. You can add me to that too, please.
Mr. Higgins.
Thank you.
Local law number 11, local law number U, that is also Mr. Mendick. Busy night, Mr. Mendick.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get this one out too and we can get on with the county's business. This amends the charter to require a 48-hour period when there are changes going to be made to the budget, the 48-hour period, and publication of those changes so that adequate time can be used to review these changes. After serving 8 years in audit and finance, and for 8 years straight I had to vote no on the budget because what would traditionally happen, and I think it happened with only one exception, and that was we would walk into the meeting and we would be given 10 to 12 pages of changes, the final changes that the majority were proposing to the budget, and immediately start voting on it. There was absolutely no time to review those changes. And I don't need to remind people, the budget is probably the most important document that we vote on in an entire year. It covers all of our activity for the entire year. And I don't think it's much of a stretch to require just a 48-hour period of time so that those changes can be published. We can research them, we can ask the appropriate questions at the meeting and get a better product. The fact that we don't do that, I think, is somewhat disgraceful, and the only one time that it was not immediate, we had a half-hour review time. So that's what this is intended to do. We want to normalize the process, give everybody a chance to take a look at those changes, do whatever research they need, ask whatever questions they might, so that when we vote, we can in clear conscience say that we understand the changes and we either agree or disagree with them.
Were there any issues in the timing of the last budget cycle? I remember last time everything came out pretty timely last year.
It did in the last cycle, but I would like to mention that was after I put out this local law as an initiative. So, and I'm not saying one covers the other. I'm just saying we're moving in the right direction, and I want to make sure that we stay in the right direction.
Yeah, I guess if that's been the practice that we seem to have had under the new leadership, why are we why are we changing the rules? I mean, I think
Because
the
leadership-
rule change should be fairly rare.
Because the leadership changes.
And
Change
your,
the rules.
and your local law will always be introducible. Any questions for Mr. Medic on this one? Is there a motion? Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayo.
What if it butts up against some kind of time pressure, you know?
Yep.
I mean, you're there at the last day, the budget has to get passed, there's
Absolutely.
5 minor things that have to be changed.
Absolutely. There's always, what will undoubtedly have to take place in order for this to work is that the budget schedule will have to be modified, will have to be moved further up in the months of November and December in order to take care of situations like that. If you've ever, you know, and I know, Mr. Mayo, you have been a part of this, oftentimes there is a week between one meeting and another. There is no logical reason that we can't compress that somewhat so that we have enough time to do all of the review that we need to do, make the changes at an earlier point, give us enough time to review them, and if there are additional, still put time in for those changes to be reviewed and voted on. It will have to adjust the schedule a little bit, but our budget period runs about 6 or 8 weeks. There is enough time within that by rescheduling it in a slightly different manner to accomplish the goal.
Any other questions? Is there a motion on this? Mr. Feeney?
I make a motion to move it without recommendation.
Is there a second on the motion to move that recommendation? Mr. Signoracci, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One? Any others? Okay. Move
Thank you very
that
much.
recommendation. Thanks, Mr. Medic. All right, items number 12 and 13 are the redistricting local laws. Mr. Kraus and Ms. Cunningham. I don't know if you want to talk about where we are. I know that you've both met a great deal and have done a lot of work and made a lot of progress.
We've had a breakfast or two as well.
What's that?
We've had a breakfast or two as well.
Yes. So that's been all bad. Do you want to talk about where you are, or do you want to wait till we get a little further along and maybe next month talk about maybe a final
I
product?
think at this point, we should probably just wait until we have something to go with and lay each one aside. Well, lay certainly B, I don't have the authority for W, but that's what I would recommend at this point.
Okay, so, Mr. Kraus, Ms. Cunningham, that works? All right, so 12 and 13 table for the sponsor, and hopefully next month we'll have a final product. Okay, item number 14, local law X, Mr. Joyce. You want to give a quick, I think this has been on the agenda a while, but I don't think we've ever really talked about it. Do you want to give a quick overview of the local law?
Right. This local law will set forth policy within our Veteran Services Bureau in Albany County. If a veteran is discharged due to their gender orientation or their sexual orientation approaches a service officer for help, either fixing their discharge papers or getting benefits at the county level or federal level, that sets forth policy to help those individuals. Policy that we don't have, which we should have.
All right, excellent. Ms. Lockhart.
Don't we help them anyway?
What's that?
Don't we help them anyway if they need help?
We don't have a policy or a system in place or a protocol to help someone who comes into the Services Bureau with this type of discharge.
They turn them away?
They can't get county benefits, they can't get state benefits, they can't get federal benefits.
And the county turns them away?
I don't know what they do if they come in.
We deny county, I don't know how we could possibly deny county benefits under our existing law. We certainly can't give federal benefits if there's a rule there, but
Doesn't those, remember we passed, you guys will have better memory, those human rights
yes,
thing?
that's what I'm getting at.
Oh.
I don't think that any county benefits can be
Could be
denied
denied,
anyone
right? I thought
based
that
on
covered.
that.
Yeah.
Federal benefits are a different issue. Obviously, we don't have any control over that, but when it comes to county benefits, there's no basis for denying anybody county benefits based on any of this.
They need a discharge.
Even on the county benefits?
Yes.
But the county doesn't do the discharge. The discharge is done by...
I'll look into it. If that's the case, then yes, I understand I would agree with you, but I just want to make sure of that.
Thank you.
I would agree with you too, Ray. I just want to make sure, because that kind of bothers me if we are denying, and especially this body has taken.
I think most folks, when they have that type of discharge, whether it be discouragement or the like, they won't come in. Because folks that are out on the fringes that have this type of discharge and they've never tried because they've never been told how to do it. So we're going to create this policy here in Albany County to help these individuals. That's the intent of the law anyways.
I just want to find out if anybody's been denied, because that's a problem.
Yeah, I would hope that we
It's been for a
would.
while, Pat.
No, I'm just saying if anybody's been denied a county benefit, that's what I want to find out.
Okay, any other questions? So I think the next step on this is move ahead with the public hearing. Is there a motion to move this on a public hearing?
Yeah.
Mr. Higgins, a second. Mr. Besson, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we'll table local law and move forward with the public hearing.
Which would be July 27th.
Mr. Chairman, though, could we get, I would like to know for myself, I'm sure the rest of the committee, if someone's being denied or has been denied, if that's been an issue.
I'm gonna follow up on that.
That doesn't seem.
I think you'll find in most cases these folks are just, I have a cousin that was discharged under these circumstances, and somebody that, has that discharge that's other than honorable, there's some shame associated with it, as with a lot of other people, and they stay in the fringes and they don't seek out the benefits they deserve because they think it's going to be denied. I'd be surprised if they denied anybody, but a lot of these folks are not going to come in and seek out to get their discharge papers fixed if they don't think there's a protocol in place to do so. That's been my experience with fellow vets.
Okay.
All right, so confirm that'll be July 20th, assuming the full legislature approves that, it'll be July 25th at 7:15. All right.
25th or 27th?
Whatever that Tuesday is.
25th.
The 25th, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of this month.
Blur together. I think that is the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
No, there's 16 and 17.
Sorry, thought we did all the current. Number 16, Resolution 266, amending Rule 2 of the County Legislative Rules of Order. That is Mr. Signorachi.
It is. Any questions? Looking to move it out.
Why is it not combined with 267?
What's that?
Well, let's wait for the public comment period on that.
Sorry.
So why don't we consider item number 17 as well? I don't know, is Mr. Dawson here?
He's not here.
Okay, I would say, and for how the committee wants to go on this, I would kind of like to move forward on 16 on this. I have a few questions about 17. I think there's a lot of good ideas in there. I think my concerns with 17 are, and I'd love to hear if the committee shares or has any others, one, requiring a home address for a public comment is a little worrisome because given our political atmosphere, we could face a situation where we have something particularly crazy and controversial and people may not want to give their address publicly if they're taking a stand that's going to generate some negative reaction. So I understand the point of addresses being available to our clerks so that we can know which folks are our constituents or not. I don't care for the idea of requiring them to publicly announce their address. To say they're from Gelderland or Bethlehem, whatever, makes sense. To say they're from X Street, if we have some hot items, that could be kind of worrisome. I'm also a little bit clear on how we would categorize county residents versus non-county residents, particularly with organizations. If you have, well, take Environmental Advocates in New York who's located in Albany, are they a county resident for purposes of this? You take a group like Riverkeeper who's come on a lot of environmental laws who is not in Albany County but has significant membership of its paid contributing members of Albany County. Is that a county resident? If you're an out-of-county company that uses an Albany County lobbyist, is that a county resident? These are all kind of unclear, and I think I could see a situation where we end up kind of making arbitrary decisions about who's a county resident, who's not, and when they can speak. So I'm not sure. I'd like to see more clarification on that. I'm not sure you want to get into those points. So I would like to talk more about 17, but I do have those concerns. I could see moving forward with 16 if the committee agrees. Or if there's any questions. Mr. Kraus.
I'm not a member of the committee, but I do have...
But you're always welcome.
Well, thank you. Since the very beginning, I've been a little perplexed about the rule that no member shall ask a question of those who present. The reality of the situation is, really these questions for clarification are truly questions. And I'm just curious, and maybe Mr. Jeffers can answer, why that policy, which seems to be, well, it is awkward, and we really don't adhere to that because there's almost every clarification is a question.
I think the policy was originally in place so that people who come up to speak don't feel like they're getting interrogated by legislators and being intimidated by a legislator asking questions. I realize that people are asked a lot of questions now, and I think a lot of the questions members ought to reconsider that they're asking. They aren't really clarifications, as you say, they're questions, but that's, the members want to ask those questions. It's very difficult to say you can't ask the question. People should police themselves on this one, because if you're standing up there and you're a regular citizen, you don't want to be interrogated by a bunch of legislators. I think sometimes the members at this table don't realize that the people who come in here may be intimidated. Not all of them, but a lot of them may be intimidated by being questioned by a bunch of legislators, particularly ones who don't have experience coming into meetings and doing public speaking.
Well, thank you for that clarification.
I do believe that was the reason originally.
I think it's a fair point. I'm not sure it's a rules question or so much an interpretive question. I think the chair has done a good job with trying to cut off particularly thinly veiled questions of speakers. There's been some that have slipped through, but I think it's a question of how that's interpreted, and I think the chair's done a good job, and I think, if folks want to have a discussion with the chair about maybe taking that a little more seriously and enforcing it a little bit stronger, I think that can make sense, but I think it's a fine line, because you don't want to cut debate off either, but you don't want it to be an interrogation. I think
you're correct.
I think the chair has struck a nice balance so far.
I think he's been very fair, and he's given latitude where he believes latitude should be extended.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So, any other questions on 16?
I know Mr. Mayor just asked me about the timeline, and I know you were talking about what you're trying to do with Mr. Chair. I apologize. It indicates 5:30 to 7:30, and that intent is to wind up giving the chair latitude. There's 6:30 to 7:30. There you go. I know we advertise our meetings at 7. Depending on the amount of speakers, that the chair is able to wind up either before the meeting, if he sees 20 people, to wind up saying, okay, it's 3 minutes apiece. That's if everything is on topic. Once we are through the item or the speakers on topic, depending on what time it is, that everybody else would wind up being able to speak depending on the time. If not, then it would be at a different point in time or after the meeting. But it gives the chair the discretion, looking at the docket on how many people are going to wind up speaking, whether he wants to decide whether it's 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and if this body can come up with about $29 or $40, $50 to buy a clock to wind up showing, so that it's fair and equitable for everyone. And that's pretty much the intent, because some people, even my conversations with Doc, he indicated that some residents from his district, whether it's on this night or that night, try to come in and speak, and because of the lengthy agenda or the speakers, they don't always get a chance to talk. So if we streamline it, we wind up in my conversations with Doc is to wind up taking baby steps. His is much more elaborate and confusing, and my thing is if we change some things and then we go back and see how this works, then address other things if other things need to be tweaked. But we streamline our process so that we can hear what everybody has to say on the topics that night. It's not people month after month on off-topic things or things that are in committee. And again, I know that that's one of the topics that he talks about that I just haven't been able to touch base with him on that to move forward. But as is, looking for recommendation to be moved out on the floor for the next month.
All right. If there's no other questions, is there a motion on this?
A question.
It's fine.
Mr. Signorachi, I remember last meeting, I believe a legislator made a motion to extend the public forum. Is that currently allowed in the rules? And would that be allowed in this?
It's up to the discretion of the chair. I know in years past, both sides of the aisle make motions to allow speakers to speak, especially when there's numerous people. Remember 3-4 years ago, you had everybody from the Anti-Safe Act, and there were a lot of people that made a motion because there were, I'm going to say, at least 25, if not 40 or more speakers. I know that there's been other times that there's been, motions on the floor by legislators to extend it. the period of time, you know, but that's also the discretion of the chairman, you know, and to wind up being able to go from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, you know, on, depending on how many speakers, that he can give everybody 3 minutes, you know, if there's 20 or 25 speakers, and then try to fit everybody in, and if they have to extend it. I mean, we advertise our meetings at 7 o'clock, when our public comment period is an hour that goes from 6:30 to 7:30. So, I mean, it's kind of, you try to fit everybody in a half hour if you can, but, you know, for an hour per our rules, and if it needs to be extended because of the amount of speakers, legislators and or the chairman can extend it.
Ms. Lockhart.
Would this, as long as people are talking on topic, okay, would we continue that discussion until on-topic is done?
Correct.
So even if you went over that hour, those on-topic people wouldn't have to wait till after the meeting, right? We keep going.
So everybody would go, that
was on
work.
topic.
Mr. Fine and Mr. Jeffers indicated that whether it's through the chair and or a member of the legislative body to extend, so if there's dialogue where there's 20 speakers, and say if the chair says, okay, I want to allow everybody 5 minutes because this is an important topic, well, you know.
Or he may cut it shorter,
Or he
so
may
you
cut
get
it
them all
shorter,
in.
if he doesn't, that's, you know, well over, you know, the 60-minute time allotment. So then we would have to extend, and you would have to wind up allowing everybody, not only the 5 minutes, because as we go back and forth, and as Mr. Kraus pointed out, we have clarification questions and, you know, kinds of clarification or questions.
I just would want to see anybody that came down on topic to be given that time.
And that's not the purpose.
Not to cut it off.
We have 200 things on average every month, 150 things. So if it's not on the agenda, I mean, that's not going to take precedent. But if there's not that many speakers and, you know, the time frame allows, then those individuals can wind up and speak.
Fair. Any other questions from the committee? Mr. Higgins.
I would only note, I'll vote for this, but I'm very interested in a lot of the ideas that are in Mr. Dawson's more comprehensive resolution. I wish he was here, you know, to walk us through some of that, and the intent behind it. But, you know, that's something I think we should continue to speak about moving forward.
Gotcha.
Baby steps. Gotta get there.
Sure, I understand.
Okay. Ms. Cunningham.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
Does the chairman currently have this discretionary authority? Maybe it's from Mr. Jeffers?
For to what?
Just the flexibility to, I mean, it seems like the chairman already has significant.
He has the flexibility to extend it, yes.
Yeah, or to shrink the time, or.
And he has flexibility to shorten the time as well, yes.
So he already has a lot of discretionary.
Yes. I think, speaking with the chairman about these, his main concern is that people who are there to talk on topics on the agenda get to talk, and that we don't spend a lot of time at the beginning of the meeting on topics that aren't on that evening's agenda, if it's going to mean that people who want to speak on the agenda don't get a chance.
And the chair doesn't currently have the ability to prioritize.
No, he
non-agenda
doesn't.
items.
That's really the key factor here, is to be able to prioritize people who are coming to speak on that night's agenda items.
Mr. Higgins. Oh. All right, is there a motion? Mr. Higgins, is there a second? Mr. Feeney, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let's move forward, and we are tabling item number 17. Yes. Now I think we're actually done. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.